Do what? Don't do what? Oh, too bad. We are. All right. Everybody wave, say hi. If there's anybody watching. Do what? Right now there's 0 people watching, so. Yeah, Facebook Live. Let's do Facebook Live. I could have.
Is this your last one or is this yours?
That one's mine. All right, so we're going to start with comparative absolute advantage. All right, comparative absolute advantage. What is absolute advantage? It's who produces more. Okay, what's comparative advantage? Who produces more for less, right? Okay, so if you get a question, I don't think it'll be an FRQ, but if you, even on a multiple choice, and that marker sucks. All right, so if we have 2 countries, let's call it first order and the rebels. All right, and they can both make lightsabers and Death Stars. I'm giving you a problem to work. I'm about to. I'm talking to myself right now. All right, so we have 2 countries. They can make lightsabers or Death Stars. All right. Set up your chart. Work through who has comparative and absolute advantage in both things. All right. So you have the first order who can make 10 lightsabers or 2 Death Stars. Death Stars, the big thing that blows things up. They've made 2 because they keep getting blown up. Same flaw every time. All right. And then you have the rebels who can make 20 lightsabers. There's more good guys there. All right. Or 1 Death Star. They've never done it, so I don't know. But they only have the plans to 1 thanks to Rogue One. Yeah, no spoilers to a movie that you knew about when you. All right. So to work comparative absolute advantage, you reduce down. We know how many Death Stars it takes to make lightsabers. And how many lightsabers it takes to make a Death Star. All right. So, who, based on absolute advantage, who should be making lightsabers? The rebels. All right. Who has absolute advantage in Death Stars? All right. Comparative advantage is who gives up less, right? All right. So the first order to make 1 Death Star, they have to give up 5 lightsabers. The rebels to make 1 Death Star, they have to give up 20. 5 is less than 20, so first order is making Death Stars. All right. Okay. Which is, yeah, I made it UV accurate. Look at there. By accident, I did it. All right. Okay. So This is easy, right? We got this. Okay. Again, I don't think you'll see a FRQ on this. All right. They've done it 2 years in a row. It's too easy. All right. But they will have multiple choice. All right. Comparative advantage is who gives up the least. So lower opportunity cost. Absolute is who makes most. All right. So comparative advantage is you're comparing your 1 Death Star to 5 lightsabers. Hey, you can come brush your teeth on camera. A way to walk in late, though. It's nice. All right. Production possibilities curve. Check off the easy things quickly. All right. On the PPC curve. All right. What goes on the axis? Whatever it says, any 2 goods. Okay? So we could have Death Stars and lightsabers. All right. Or, Rachel, more likely, we're going to have capital and consumer goods. All right. That's the possibilities frontier. Yes, you draw that line. What are you looking for? I'm out. I'll use notebook paper. Yes, sir. What's your question? Lower opportunity cost. Comparative advantage is who has lower opportunity cost. Who gives up the least? Yes. Opportunity cost is what you give up. So comparative advantage is who has lower opportunity cost. Who gives up less. So in that example, the first order had made 1 Death Star for every 5 lightsabers. The rebels made 1 for every 20. 5 is less than 20, so the first order has comparative advantage. That's a cinnamon roll from Mom's Kitchen. Shout out. In the bathroom. All right, so on a production possibilities curve, we'll label ours capital, goods, and consumer goods. All right, what does that show? Look up here. Right, it's under-efficient, recession, inefficient, underutilization, all those vocabulary words. What it tells you? It tells you. It does not matter how you label it either. Okay? All right, so if it tells you that they can make military goods versus civilian goods, you use military and civilian. Right, then you use capital versus consumer. It'll tell you. All right. So, full production, 100% efficiency. All right, with an emphasis on capital goods because I am closer to that. It's a good detail. All right. If I'm moving from B to C, consumer, opportunity cost and trade-off. Why? I just moved from B to C. It's a trade-off. All right. Well, then move closer. I'm yelling. Why am I all the way over here? Because my computer's way over here? Do I need to move my computer? Is that what you're saying? Oh, jeez. Can I move to there? I think I can reach there. Oh, this is gonna be bad. My computer's gonna fly. Now Jackson's in the truck.
Yeah, that's what I'm following.
There we go. And then we can move even closer.
Yeah, you get a 0. Yeah. I think that's
If you draw it as a straight line, you're just showing that things are perfectly
gonna die.
and 90% of the time that's okay. Every now and then they may say imperfect. All right. I could probably fit it into 10 minutes.
What did you say about C? Sorry.
All right, so if I'm moving from B to C, all right, I'm moving along the possibility frontier. All right, I'm showing trade-offs and opportunity costs. All right, as I move from B to C, yes, I gain consumer goods, but I have to give up capital goods to do so. It's still broadcasting, but I'm watching Twitter as well. I don't like staring at myself in the computer. It's kind of creepy. Yeah, I'm multitasking, which people say your brain actually can't do. But I'm doing it. I'm talented. Right? What is this? Point D. No. What is it? It's impossible. It's impossible with current resources. Not possible. Now, if we have economic growth, we could get there, right? Right? It would be positive economic growth. If we specialize in trade through comparative advantage, we could get there as well. Why? If we're specializing in trading and I'm making only capital goods, which I'm really good at, and you're making only consumer goods, which you're good at, between the two of us together, we can reach there. By ourselves, we cannot. But if we become Captain Planet and powers combine, we can make it. Yeah, you just jumped ahead. All right, inflation. That on GDP or on ASAD curve, if you're like over here, you can show that on this curve by being right outside the line for a short period of time. Right? All right. So if I'm here, okay, I can be there, right? But that comes with the consequence of inflationary gap, and I'm overproducing. Okay. All right. Easy stuff. Good, right? All right. So somebody define opportunity cost. Right. Opportunity cost is what you give up in any economic decision. Okay. Simple vocabulary as well. What is scarcity? Yeah, unlimited wants and needs with limited resources. It's the most basic economic problem. That's why we have the course, right? You know that. Don't be tripped up if they ask you that, right? Every now and then it shows up in multiple choice, right? To see, do you understand why we're here? Right? Don't forget. All right. Ivan, we have him on iPad. It has what I'm doing next because I knew I'd forget. Yeah, just unplug it. When it dies here in a little bit, we'll have you retreat to the. Who's Ivan? All right. First of the graphs I think that we'll have you draw today. Loanable funds. Draw a loanable funds graph. all loanable funds. Oh, and I screwed up. You tell me. Test is in 4 hours. Our percentage. It's real interest rates. Why? Yeah, because it's a loan, it takes you time to pay it off, so you have to adjust for inflation. So it's real interest. Yeah. Yes. All right, so you have real interest rates and quantity of loanable funds. All right. Downward sloping demand of loanable funds. Why? Why? Okay, that's good, but why? Right. As interest rates go up, what do you have to pay more? You have to pay more money back. As consumers, what do we not like? We don't like paying money, right? We want our own money. So if I'm having to pay money in interest, I'm not going to borrow as much, right? Since demand is borrowing, that's us as consumers. We're going to get there. We'll talk about inflation in a second. All right, supply. Upward sloping supply of loanable funds. Why? Who supplies loans? Banks. And banks are a for-profit business, right? So as interest rates increase, they make more and more money for every loan they give out. So as interest rates go up, they will give out more loans, right? At low interest rates, they don't give out as many, they don't make as many profits, right? So it's basic supply and demand for a specific market, right? What impacts demand of loanable funds? Borrowing, okay? So as a household, that's borrowing, right? What if it's a business? What do we call it? Capital investment, which leads to long-running economic growth. It's also the IG on GDP, right? What is it called when the government borrows? A budget deficit, right? They borrow when they have a budget deficit because they have to pay off the debt. All right. Yes. What is it when foreigners borrow? Direct foreign investment. Right. Simple enough. Thank you for the self-drawing, Allison. Thank you for my drawing. I'm not wearing a bow tie today, though. Do what? But I'm not wearing a bow tie. All right. All right. Apparently, Corbin's going to go home. Yeah. All right. Crowding out. You got a question? All right. So if, guys, listen, because they will ask me crowding out a question. If the government is borrowing, right, real interest rates increase due to an increase in demand for loanable funds, right? Okay. There are some that say it would increase supply, but we're not going to go there. All right, we're going to go with demand. All right. All right. It's an economic theory. We're going with demand. It's universally accepted. Some teachers teach supply. I don't. All right. They're not wrong. It's just a different theory. All right. So the reason that interest rates go up due to crowding out is that the government has to borrow to pay off the debt. Okay. Which pushes real interest rates up according to the loanable funds graph. What that does is think of the amount of loans. There's only so many loans out there, right? That banks have. They only have so much excess reserves to loan out. If the government is soaking up those potential loans for its own debt. That means you and I can't go to the banks to borrow. So the pie is shrinking. They are crowding out potential businesses and individuals. It pushes interest rates up. It also pushes interest rates up because the government's going to borrow at whatever interest rate is out there, and they don't care. But we care, and businesses care. Right, because I could just give them to the government instead and wait for them to run a deficit next year and make more profit. In theory. All right, so that's crowding out. Does that help? All right. Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, oh, it's on my list. Gotcha. All right, so we're going to look at 2013's FRQ, the one that y'all started working when I didn't want you to, because it does with loanable funds. So I will put it on the screen if I can figure it out. All right, we're going to work through 2013. Right, it is on screen. So on your whiteboards, with your partner, on paper, wherever you just grab. All of it, number one. 2013, number one. That's as big as I can get it and it fit on the screen. If you want to walk over and take a picture, this is the long one. No. She's asking there's one long FRQ and two short. This is the long one. She was right.
Have you ever shared money tables with them personally?
No, we have turned it into the.
There's no one in the
All right, this afternoon you will have one long, this is considered a long FRQ, and two short to answer in 55 minutes. Multiple choice questions in 70 minutes.
That's it.
All right, that's it. 55 minutes. So it's a 2.5 hour test with a break. 10, 15 minutes, yeah.
Awesome.
Are you looking at C2I? Will, are you at C2I? It's how fast is it going to increase, decrease, slow down, depending on your interest rate change that you happen on loan funds. Right. 5 minutes. Oh. Capital investment. You're right. Where is it? Because the room is right now. I'll only invest at 8%. But then it goes back to 6. All the people are like, oh, I invest now.
Yeah, I did. So safety, so this one. So that is the market now.
Yeah. Okay. I went to tell them. But you only have to go euro while no, you're just trying to value. Yeah. All right, let's talk through this FRQ. All right, see how you did. All right, on A, says using, first off, always read number 1 because it's going to tell you the state of the economy. All right, assume the economy is operating at full employment. All right, so that's utopia, right? That's our happy place. All right, so on a correct label, long run average supply aggregate demand curve, show each of the following: your current price level and output. So your graph should look, yeah, it should be your utopia graph, right? So make sure you've labeled everything. Right? And you're labeling it as Y1 and PL1. All right, so you should have your graph look like so. Yeah, yes? All right, this is 2 points. All right, one for showing long run as, all right, as Y1, so, and one for your correct PL level, so that's 2 points, right? And you would have to have all of your labels correct, though, to get the point, okay? In my world. I'm not going to tell you what they really do, but my world, I'm not telling you. Draw it perfect. Not it. Draw it perfect. Make me happy. All right. You want to keep your grader happy. All right. Draw a perfect graph. All right. On B. No. No. After the test, maybe. All right. So then we're going to draw loanable funds, which we just went over. All right. An increase in savings does what to the loanable funds? Increases supply. So your supply shifts to the right. All right. So what happened to real interest rates? They decreased. Right. So what is that going to do to investment? They're going to increase. It's cheaper to borrow. I'll borrow more. All right. So C. Based on our interest rate change, what will happen to interest-sensitive expenditures? That's a fancy way for saying borrowing. All right, because expenditures is spending, so in interest-sensitive, you're going to borrow at an interest rate. So, all right, so what happens to those spending? Will increase. Does it say explain? Oh, so just write the word increase. All right. Can you explain? Yes, but you don't have to. All right. All right. What will happen to the rate of economic growth? It's going to increase. Why? All right. So it's the rate of economic growth. There's lots of acceptable answers here. All right. You could talk about the increase in consumer spending due to interest-sensitive borrowing. You could talk about the increase in business spending. You could talk about the increase in capital investments. All right. Any increase in spending would lead to an increase in aggregate demand, which would lead to an increase in GDP. You could say an increase in spending would lead to an increase in GDP. I would go through aggregate demand just to be sure. Yes. Right, because they had you draw aggregate demand at the top, link back to that graph. Right, that's what they're testing. Do you know how all of this links together? Right, so if they change spending, you know that changes aggregate demand because aggregate demand is spending. Tell them. Yeah, it's IG. All right, D. Now assume that the real interest rate of the Eurozone increases relative to the interest rate of the United States. Eurozone is Europe, don't be confused. All right, draw a correctly labeled foreign exchange market of the euro. All right, so we haven't gone to a forex, that's next, but we know how to draw it. All right, so we have the price of the euro, quantity of the euro, you can make up a symbol and just put it off to the side. You could just put euro market there. All right, so it's like a C with 2 lines in the middle, if you want to remember. All right, so we have our euro market. All right, interest rates are higher in Europe. So where, and it tells you what will happen to the demand of the euro. So we're moving demand. Who controls the demand of the euro? We do, right? As foreigners, we control the demand. Okay. Okay. We like high interest rates for foreign investment. So what will happen to this market? We're going to increase our demand because now we can get greater returns on our investments. Yeah. All right. So we're going to invest more. All right. D2I. What will happen to the value of the euro relative to the US dollar? It'll increase, or the correct economic way of saying it is appreciate. Good job, Rosie. Well, if you write increase, will they take it? Yes. Will it annoy your grader that you wrote increase instead of the word appreciate? Yes. So write the word appreciate. Show off your knowledge. 1 in 180,000. Because you are one of 180,000 students taking. At 54. So 54 out of 180,000. Reduce that down. Twice. And I handed them off. Yeah, it was kind of neat. All right. So E. Current account. Oh, this is fun. All right. So assume that our current account balance is 0. Based on the change of the value of the euro identified in part D2I, we said it would appreciate. Right? Will the United States current account balance now be in surplus, in deficit, or remain at 0? So really, slow down. It's open that back up. There we go. Ooh. All right, we're still on. We're still good. All right. So what will happen to exports first? Is what they're asking. From Europe to the United States. Right, so the Europe, why? No. Their currency appreciated, so it's now more expensive for us to buy their currency, which means it's more expensive for us to buy their goods. So we're going to buy less European goods. So now we're going to follow the currency. If we're buying less European goods, there's less of our currency going out, right? They are buying more of ours. Right, which means that we have currency coming in. Okay, so follow the currency on the capital market, financial markets. Right, what happens to our account balance? It has a surplus. Right, it's asking about exports, not about the demand change on interest rates. It works in this case. I'm not going to tell you that works every time. Current account balance is you're following how currency is flowing in and out of a country. Right, and if it says current account, that's based on imports and exports, right? So because, and they say because of the change of the value of the dollar, in this case, so it appreciated. We know that means, all right, it's more expensive, so we're going to be exporting more but importing less, right? Which means that as we export, that means currency is coming in. So we'll have a surplus. Both. Talk about both. There's more stuff flowing out, but the currency of Europe is coming in. It's confusing, I know. It's hard. That's a hard point to get. On this one, yeah, 1, 2 on A, 1, 2 on B, 3 on C, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 or 11. Yeah. All right. No, it should increase demand. Right. Why would demand increase? Interest rate in Europe is higher than the United States, so we want to invest in Europe. So we're going to demand more euros to do so. Right. High interest rates you want to save. Okay, so I want to save more money in Europe. So to do so, I have to demand more euros. Right. If it's domestic, you're talking borrowing and investment. International, right? So domestic borrowing is domestic investment is borrowing. International investment is savings. All right, Forex time. All right, on the Forex market, right, we're showing the buying and selling of currency, right? So we use dollars, euros, but we're not buying and selling money. It's actual physical currency that exchanging hands, right? So there's lots of ways to label the graph. We're going to go over the way that we've talked about multiple times to keep it simple. It's acceptable. It's easy, right? It's supply and demand, right? So you have price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal, upward sloping supply, downward sloping demand, right? And then you just draw it for whatever currency they tell you. Okay, so draw the graph and show me and make sure you get it right. Money market has vertical supply. Now, draw dollar market. Just keep it simple. Or again, you pick the currency. You draw a currency market. I don't care which one. You pick. In my room. He doesn't like food. All right, I'm drawing the yen market because I don't know why. All right, your graph looks something similar to this. You can. I just said draw a currency market. All right, but yes, there are two graphs interacting at the same time. Okay, like on this one, you could draw the dollar market and the euro market at the same time, but as a grader, I'm only looking at your euro market. Do it. That's all it asked for. And do notice, it told you what line to move. All right? So they give you those clues a lot on FRQs. How will this affect the supply of loanable funds? How would this affect the demand for the money market? All right? All right, so don't move the opposite line. Don't ruin my markers. No, I think we're all out. Just draw on paper. All right, what influences this market? What influences Forex? Interest rates, right? Any interest rate. How do interest rates affect Forex? We want to invest where there's higher interest rates, right? Whatever country has higher interest rates, that's where we invest. Okay. What else? What else moves the lines? Consumer taste and preferences, right? You like buying their stuff, right? Or we don't like buying their stuff now, right? What else? Price level, inflation, and GDP, right? On GDP, if the US GDP is increasing, right, that will affect the foreign market because now I'm buying more foreign-made goods because I'm buying more stuff altogether. Demand for yen would go up. All right. Inflation, where do we want to buy from? The one with less inflation. Oh, you're so cute. Because there's nobody watching. Or there's like 2 people watching. And they're probably in this room. One's probably him. Very true. She's in my room. Because she doesn't do well with groups on stress. As we never noticed. Yeah, it would be a lot louder. Yeah, she's doing her own thing and has outpacing me. All right, on money market graph. Interest rates, GDP, money market. Why would I buy somewhere where there's price levels going up? Okay, I have an answer. Answer. As no one is straight on there. All right, on the money market graph, who controls the supply of money? Federal Reserve, right? Who controls the demand of money? Everybody else. Consumers, it's based on GDP, price level, our spending, okay? Government spending, business spending. It can't do it. I mean, they could tie it to Forex. How would a... It could. That's like next level. I've never seen that. But yes, technically it could. All right. So when we talk money, it's not just dollars. We're talking all money in the market. Right? So it's currency, credit, everything. Right? Why is supply vertical? Yeah. Because the Fed, right? Right. So let's compare it to loanable funds. We had an upward sloping supply curve. Why did we have upward sloping supply? They were seeking for profit. Okay. Does the Fed care about profit? No. Right. The Fed cares about setting the quantity of money in the market. It's one of their jobs, one of their functions. Right. So they don't care about seeking profit. So they just say, this is the supply of money. Have fun. Merry Christmas. All right, what are the 3 Fed tools that can affect the supply of money? All right, let's go from ones that they don't change to ones they do change. All right, so required reserve ratio. Okay, so they don't change it often, right? Because it's almost too powerful, right? If I change it a lot, banks don't know how much to loan out because, right? Is it effective? It's an immediate change, right? But if I'm constantly changing it, it does too much. Yeah. right? Discount rate. It's like borrowing from mommy and daddy. It's the interest rate that the Federal Reserve charges. All right. You better explain what that means. All right. That's not enough to get the point. All right. All right. The discount rate is the interest rate that the Federal Reserve charges banks for overnight loans. It's not used because banks don't want to have to borrow from the Fed. It sends a signal that they don't have, other banks won't lend to them, right? It's like when you have to go borrow from mom and dad instead of your friends. Yeah, it's a signal. Yeah, go ahead, loan out more. We'll charge you less. I can, but it doesn't. Yes, it is a theoretical move. All right, open market operations is buying and selling bonds. Open market operation. Discount rate is not open market. I can't use the discount rate. Only the bank. That's a closed market. All right, I can buy bonds from the Federal Reserve, or I can sell bonds to the Federal Reserve. All right, when we're talking buying and selling of bonds, we're talking what the Fed is doing, not what banks are doing. All right, so that can get a little confusing. Okay. Yes. So buy bonds equals big bucks. Sell bonds equals small bucks. Right. I want to sell bonds when I want less money on the market. I'm trying to battle inflation. I want to buy bonds when I'm more money. And this is monetary policy. Okay. Yes. Right. But anybody can buy bonds. Preferably as the Fed, as the Fed, I can buy bonds from anybody. Right. I can buy from you, or I can buy from the bank. If I buy from the bank, all of it goes into excess reserves, which is what I want. If I buy from you, you have to deposit, and then it goes to the required reserve ratio. Right. So they want banks more often because it's a more direct impact. Now, when prices are low, my dollar's worth more. Is that what you're asking? So how does inflation affect borrowing? We're not there yet. Right. So if inflation, is what we're talking about. If inflation rates are going up, if you have a fixed rate loan, it's better for me as a borrower because I should be borrowing at a higher nominal interest rate than I am. Because as price level increases, it's cheaper for me to pay back. Plus, the bank should be charging me more because it's affecting their real interest rate. Don't listen to that. All right. All right, let's look at another FRQ. All right. One that has other graphs. All right. Oh. All right. 2013, number 3. If it doesn't tell you to, no. No. They're only looking for what is, the key will have only what they ask for. I would draw. Go ahead. Inflation and expected inflation reported terms. A is draw a correctly labeled graph with filled short one filled. They didn't even tell you where to put it right now. They just want you to draw a graph. But for A, you just have to draw the line. They didn't tell you where to put the point.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but
Yes.
you do. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, this one, it tells you. I would use B because that's what they're telling you. I wouldn't put it because they didn't tell you to. No, you won't turn it off. That's all they're looking for. You have a short running curve point. On B, it says of an increase in expected inflation. On B, you should have 2 points. You should have an A moving to a B showing an increase in inflation. Inflation is higher prices. They're overthinking. Stop. Why would I spend more when I expect inflation? That's what the expected inflation rate is. The inflation is right now and what we expect to be in the future. Would it change long run? That's what it's asking. Would it move? Yeah. Nominal minus inflation. Doesn't they're just giving you extra crap. To see if you would use it. Guaranteed. To see if you know it. Do what you know. D, there's 2 possible ways to answer the question, but you have to answer them in a certain order. What do you mean? Depends on how you read the question.
No, but you want them to get
Did you move the long run line by moving the point on A and B? Then put no change. Did you move the long run line? Then put no change.
Well, so I think there's no thing. The equation is nominal minus inflation equals real. But they, like I said, the bank always want to profit 5%. If inflation is like more.
Depends on how you read the question.
So they're going to take both answers.
Yes, sure they did.
Okay, I was gonna say I read it as yourself, and they realize this they probably say.
Yeah.
That's how I read it. Because if inflation went from 3 to 5, you gotta make nominal higher. So
Yeah. They're just seeing if they put it in there to see if you know to ignore it. Sure. All right. Here's what I got. All right, let's talk through it. See if you match. All right. Don't have to, but because there's two possible answers on D. All right. So on A, you draw your Phillips curve. You have inflation and unemployment. Short run Phillips curve. Oh, I forgot to label line. I would have lost the point. Whoops. All right. Double check to make sure you always label all your lines. All right. Yeah. Whoever wrote this one is earned 10 points in bonus. All right. I lost the point. So you have your line correctly drawn. You move along the line, increasing inflation from A to B. Okay. All right. C, what happens to the long run line? Moving along the line, does that cause me to change? No. So no change on C. It's the same thing that would cause long run aggregate supply to change. The natural rate of unemployment. Right. Changing expected inflation won't change long run. All right. Yeah. Yes. If I change aggregate supply. Right. So, given the increase in expected inflation from part B, what will happen to the nominal interest rate? Okay, there's two ways to interpret this question. Right? Immediate impact. Do I change nominal? No. Okay. It's expected inflation goes up. Okay. Nominal didn't change just because inflation changed yet. Right? So if I put no change on I, does the real interest rate change because of the inflation? Yes. Right? Because it's nominal minus real. Right? So if nominal didn't change, right? If nominal didn't, yeah, nominal's minus inflation. If nominal didn't change, inflation went up, real went down. Yes. So no change, decrease. Now you could say, well, if the inflation rate is going up, banks are going to increase nominal interest rates to match so that their real interest rate stays the same. Okay, that's good economic logic as well. And because it's not clear, you could say that nominal would increase to match. So therefore, real interest rates would not change. All right. I would have explained just because the question's unclear. All right. All right. On E, they give you lots of numbers. You have nominal interest rates. You have expected inflation. You have rate of growth for GDP. And they want you to calculate real interest rates. Real interest rates is nominal minus inflation. Do you need all the numbers they gave you? No. All right. So it's 8 minus 3, which gives you 5%. All right. On this one, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. 8 minus 3 would be 5. Nominal minus inflation. All right. You have to draw with your rest. All right. All right, let's take a break. All right. Take a break. A break. All right. Let's see how long of a break. See what I can find to play on YouTube. Let's see. Let's take a 10-minute break. For those of you watching, I am playing a video for you on mobile phones. What do you mean?
Moulden.
So wait, I don't need my. Okay.
When are we having our little lunch?
I'm gonna stop at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Or Caleb, no. What's your whiteboard? You write on your whiteboard?
I don't know that yet.
You crap no more. You wonder why you're thought of it. You wonder why you're We're done at 11. You have to take this quick. 11. No, 45. 12. We're gonna get it.
Right? Let's see.
Yeah, we're going to be in Alexia for the test. We're going to eat lunch. You have something delivered.
Like I said, Dustin. So there too. You go out.
That's part about it. It's all about. Yeah.
Right. We need to go over multiple positive expenditure. Is that what we're most nervous about? Multiple positive expenditure.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom was scary.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I said, I want to get a well, I can't try.
Can I have more order to the interview? Where are you getting?
Would you like me to order?
Yes,
I would like- Yeah. Don't worry, I'll pay you back eventually. I have no cash right now.
Oh yeah,
Yes. I take some research.
It's my mom. The reason I don't think about it because I think about it outside.
Awesome. I'm terrible at filming videos. I probably should work on that. I'll work on that. All right, what? You missing a book? I stole it.
No, there was a stainless steel card over there that had Gatorade by Monday.
Yeah, I stole the Gatorade, but I didn't steal the card.
I don't care about Gatorade.
I didn't take the card.
So when is this?
I didn't do that. That was somebody else.
But he's still talking.
In the last 5 minutes.
You remember one while though. Moulden. She was in that room right there.
I wasn't in here.
Some girls did that in our psych. And talk to me. Yeah.
All right. Here we go. All right. Since we just talked about loans and the banking system, I think it's fun that we should talk about everybody's favorite multiple deposit expansions. Yay! I could, but I don't want to. No. Evelyn just asked that. I don't have a mnemonic device for this. All right, so required reserve ratio is 10%. All right, so required reserve ratio is 10%. Han Solo, who is not the Federal Reserve, all right, deposits $100. All right, find four things: the immediate change in excess reserves, the change in loans in the banking system, the change in the total money supply, and the change in total demand deposits. All four steps. Okay, thank you. Required reserve ratio is 10%. All right. Find the change in demand deposits, excess reserves, money supply, total change in loans. $100 deposit by an individual who happens to be Han Solo. I don't know who's been teaching you all year, and I feel. I'm not gonna yell at you. My wife's never seen Star Wars, and I'm okay with that.
Vanguard.
Did you get it? All right. Step one is what? No, step one is to find the money multiplier. The floor makes a great eraser. All right, step one, find the money multiplier. So the money multiplier is 1 over the required reserve ratio. In this case, it was 10%. So it's 1 over 0.1, which gives you a money multiplier of 10. All right. Got it? All right. Now we want to find the change in excess reserves. Right? So Han Solo deposits $100 into the bank. How much does the bank now have to loan out? $90. Right? You took that, found that by his $100 deposit minus 100 times 10%, which is $10. So it gives you 90 bucks. All right, that's excess reserves. What can banks do with excess reserves? Loan it out. All right, where's the other $10? In required reserves. How much is in demand deposits right now? 100 bucks. All right, max change in loans. So now we want to measure the ripple effect of his $100 deposit. Okay, because remember, has 90 bucks. All right, Corbin takes out the $90 loan. All right, he goes and buys a deflector shield for $90. That's a cheap one. All right, all right. Okay. That person then deposits $90 into their account. All right, the bank holds on to 10%, loans out 81, and so forth and so on. So what is the total change in new loans from that $100? All right, so you take your 90 bucks, multiply it by the money multiplier, which is 10, and you get a max change in new loans of 900. So if you added up all new loans, it would equal up to 900 bucks. Now, is it guaranteed that all of those will be new loans? No, what could happen? There's two things. Bank could hold on to some excess reserves, and somebody could not deposit the money. They could spend it as cash, hold on to currency. If I save it, the bank can loan it out. All right. To find the change in the total money supply, you take your max change in loans plus any Federal Reserve action. Was Han Solo the Fed? No, so it's plus 0. So the change in the money supply is still $900. Okay. To find the change in demand deposits, you take your max change in loans plus the initial deposit, because it's in demand deposits as well. No, it's initial loan deposit. All right. And so your max change in demand deposits is $1,000. It's demand deposits are on the liabilities, assets, liabilities. All right, let's do one with the balance sheet. Yeah. Max change in demand deposits is 900 plus the initial deposit. Max change in money supply is 900 plus Federal Reserve action. I will tell the office. No. Thanks. All right. Using the information on the board. All right, we have assets. The bank has $1,000 in reserves. All right. Oh, let's call that required reserves. That might make it a little easier here. All right. So they have $1,000 in required reserves. They have $20,000 in demand deposits. 20,000, and they are holding on to 1,000. All right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what's going with 5%. All right. Find the required reserve ratio. And then if the Fed buys $100 in bonds, find the max change in the money supply. Demand deposits. I was lazy, didn't want to write it all the way up. You're going to need to find the required reserve ratio and then the max change if the Fed buys $100 a month. $100. And then the Fed buys $100 in bonds. What's the max change in the money supply? Oh, I didn't make this math friendly at all. $100 in bonds. All right, so what was the required reserve ratio? 5%, 1/20, right? We kept $1,000 of, right? So the Fed buys $100 in bonds. You go through your steps. The money multiplier is 1/0.05, which gives you a multiplier of 20. Because a nickel goes into $1 20 times. Okay, how do you do those things? So then you would find the change in excess reserves, which is 100 minus 100 times 0.05, which is $5. So excess reserves change by 95. Multiply that by another multiplier, which I use my calculator because this is not math friendly. They would make it math friendly. Yeah. That's the money multiplier. That's the money multiplier. This is the steps. Go through these steps and it works 100%.
If I just money multiplier, I just go whole amount.
Only if it's the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Go through these steps. You get it right 100%. All right. So you find the change in excess reserves, multiply it by the money multiplier, add in Federal Reserve action because it's the Fed, and you get 2,000. Yeah, if it was max change in new loans, it's 1,900 because it's just the change in excess reserves plus. So it depends on the question they're asking too. Oh, one of these? Yeah, let's do another one. What do you mean by label them? I would box it. Both. Box your answer. And label it as like whatever letter they tell you to. All right, let's do another one. All right, so your bank has $10,000 in reserves. They have $100,000 in demand deposits. All right, required reserve ratio is 5%. All right. What is the dollar amount the bank can loan now? It doesn't matter. Just demand deposits. All right. If Luke deposits $1,000, right? What is change in loans of the banking system and change in demand deposits? All right. So you have a bank. It has demand deposits of $100,000. All right. It has a reserves. That's all reserves total of $10,000. Okay. The required reserve ratio is 5%. How much can that bank loan out right now? Okay. Then that's the same thing as asking what should its excess reserves be. All right. If Luke deposits $1,000, what is the change in loans in the banking system, and what is the change in demand deposits? How much can they loan out right now? Then, when somebody deposits $1,000, how much does that change the bank loans in the banking system for max change loans? How much does that change demand deposits? No calculator. Again, I'm not sure that my math is math. I'm just throwing down numbers. No, only the new. No, you use this information for number one. Because you're trying to figure out what they can loan right now. So they have. All right. Are you getting thrown off by number one? No, number one. Okay. All right. Okay, let's talk through the whole thing. Let's talk through the whole thing. All right, the required reserve ratio is 5%. Okay. Demand deposits are 100,000. How much of that 100,000 are required reserves? 5. All right, they have 10,000 in reserves. So how much can they loan out right now? 5,000. 5 are in required, 5 are in excess. Okay? Because it's just reserves, it's both combined. You're just figuring the other current demand deposits. What's the excess reserves? 5,000. What they have. Well, it's really 95, but they already have the other 90 somewhere else. They have 10,000 sitting around. 5 they have to hold on to is the required reserve ratio. 5 they can loan out. They've loaned out or bought bonds with the other 90,000. Of the 100,000, they have to hold on to 5 is the required reserve ratio. They have 10. They have to have. They can loan out the other 5. The other 90, because this is not balanced. The other 90 is floating around. All right. If Luke deposits $1,000, all right, what is the change in new loans in the banking system? Max change in loans. So we need our money multiplier is 1 over 0.05, which is 20. Right? Of the $1,000, the bank has to hold on to 5% of 1,000, which is, somebody help me out, 50. Right? So excess reserves. I can't do math here. The required reserve ratio is 5%. All All right. So excess reserves are 950. You take that by your money multiplier, and it gives you $19,000. All right. So max change in new loans through the banking system is $19,000. Okay. All right. Second question. All right. Second question. Find the max change in demand deposits. So you take your max change in new loans and you add in the initial deposit because it was a demand deposit too. All right. So you add in the 1,000. So 19,000 plus the initial deposit of 1,000 gives you a max change of $20,000 in demand deposits. Not us. We're good. All right. So we're going to be fine. All right. Are we good? Yes, no, maybe? Yeah, ask a question. Yes, one question. I just put reserves at 10,000. That's required reserves and excess reserves. Yeah. All reserves. All right, so you were to define how much of that is required, how much of that is excess. All right, let's talk about some basic stuff. GDP, what is it? Gross domestic product, okay. So what is the definition? It's the market value of all goods and services produced within a country, within a year, within a given time period. All right, so do we count used goods? No. Do we count stocks? Why not? Nothing is produced when you buy a stock. All right. Do we count goods sold overseas? If it was produced here and sold overseas, it counts. That's called an export. Exports count. Do we count goods made overseas and sold here? No. All right. Do we count non-market activities, things such as you babysitting and not filling out your W-9? No, we don't know that it happened. All right. That's a service. All right. Any good or service. So has to be produced here within our borders, within our time period. Okay, within that time period, whatever it is, generally a year. Produced, not who produced it, where it's produced. Okay. Two ways of figuring GDP. You have the expenditure approach, C plus I plus G plus XN. What is C? Consumer spending, largest portion of GDP. What's IG? Business spending. Okay. Business investment, business spending. What's G? Government spending, and XN. Net exports, which is exports minus imports. All right. Other way to find GDP is the income approach. You're just adding up all incomes. That's all we're going to talk about. Okay, and it should give you theoretically the same number. Okay, because if you're measuring production, those people were being paid for that production, and so if you measure income or production, it doesn't matter. Is GDP a perfect measure? No, it has shortcomings. right? It doesn't count non-market activities. It doesn't count illegal activities. Right? Those are things that are being produced. We just don't know about it. Okay. The government doesn't officially know about it. All right. So if GDP is increasing, what is happening to unemployment? Decreasing, right? Because people have jobs. All right. So speaking of unemployment, 4 types. Frictional unemployment. All right. Frictional is voluntary between jobs, right? Or you're just entering the market for the first time. All right. Structural unemployment. All right. Lack of skills, or technology replaced your job, or your market is no longer needed. All right. All right. Seasonal unemployment. Lifeguard, mall Santa. All right. Okay. All right. And then cyclical or cyclical unemployment. That's the one. It's the bad one, right? And it's tied to unemployment and inflation. No, it's tied to a recession. Whew. Okay. So is there ever 0% unemployment? No. So if we're at full employment, you're at the natural rate of unemployment. Those are the same things. Yes, Adam. We're getting there. All right. So how do we find unemployment? Number of unemployed divided by number of the labor force. The labor force is unemployed plus employed. Okay? To be considered unemployed, you have to be actively seeking a job but do not have one. Right? So if I have a part-time job, am I employed? Yes. What if I have a part-time job but I want a full-time job? Still employed. Okay? All right? What if I only work 1 hour every 2 weeks? I still have a job. That's the minimum. 1 every 2 weeks. What if I do not have a job? I was looking for a job, but I have now given up. I am no longer in the labor force. I'm a discouraged worker. Okay? So I don't count. If I gave up looking. No longer count. Alrighty. Inflation. What is inflation? Rising prices, right? It includes wages and resource costs as well. So there's 2 types. There's cost push and demand pull. Right? Cost push, you have resources costs going up, causing the price of goods and services to go up. Demand pull, caused by consumers, you have too much money, you're spending it. Right? That's the one that we can fix, right, by taking your money away. Right? Either through monetary or physical policy. Yes, if you have money, you will spend it. If you will spend it, we can charge you more. Right? So it gets us into monetary and physical policy to fix these problems. Right? Physical policy, who does it? Government. Who's the government? Like what? Congress. Okay, Congress does it. Right? 2 tools. What are they? Government spending and taxes. Right? Expansionary policy. What am I trying to fix? Fixing a recession. All right. All right. How would I change my government tools? Spend more or tax less. Is it guaranteed to work if I cut your taxes? No, why not? Because you could save, right? Not a guarantee that you'll spend tax cut. You could save it, right? How do I fix inflation? Contractionary policy, which means I'm doing more taxes or decreasing government spending. As a politician, am I willing to do those things? Why not? I will get fired, all right? If I raise your taxes, you will not vote for me. So as a politician, am I willing to do it? No, too much political risk. Right? Will it be effective? Yes. All right. If I raise your taxes, you can't spend. All right, because I took it from you. All right, but I will lose my job. All right. So monetary policy done by the Federal Reserve. It's required reserve ratio, discount rate, and open market operations, or buying and selling of bonds. We went over that when we talked money market graph. Question? Yes. 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 In theory, fiscal policy is seen kind of like the hatchet. We're just going to come in and start whacking, and monetary policy is the scalpel to fine tune how you change things. Federal Reserve is monetary. Government is Congress is fiscal policy. All right. Which one do they cover more? They could ask either. One of them will be part of the long FRQ. I'm guessing monetary policy, but that's just a guess, because they've done fiscal policy the last 2 years. And they can tie monetary policy to the money market and then tie it to multiple deposit expansions, which would make a great FRQ, in my book. All right. Anything else? Are we good? They're not going to ask about that. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about some formulas we need to know. All right, let's start with spending and tax multipliers because they're easy. So MPC plus MPS equals 1. All right. We use those to find the spending and tax multipliers, which measures how a change in spending or a change in taxes will affect the overall economy, measuring that ripple effect. All right. Spending multiplier, 1 over MPS. All right. Tax multiplier, 1 MPC over MPS. Spending multiplier will always be larger than your tax multiplier. Okay. So if you have a change in spending and a change in taxes by the same amount, you will still have an increase in GDP. Right. MPS is marginal propensity to save. It's marginal propensity to consume. All right. And we know our money multiplier, it's 1 over the required reserve ratio. We went over unemployment, number of unemployed divided by labor force. All right. GDP deflator, another way of measuring inflation, nominal over real. Okay, times 100. Don't forget that part. Nominal GDP over real GDP times 100 will give you the GDP deflator. So CPI, right? It's Consumer Price Index used to find inflation, right? And only inflation. You use your market basket. You add up the value of each market basket produced. Then you take the current market basket divided by the base year market basket value, and it gives you CPI. Oh yeah, times 100.
Times 100. And so if there's no inflation at all, it'll be 100. But if it goes up,
yeah, your base year CPI is always 100. Because current divided by base year, it's the same number divided by the same number times 100. Will always be 100. That's finding inflation. So you take your current CPI, it's new minus old divided by old times 100. So your new CPI minus your old CPI divided by the old CPI times 100 gives you the inflation rate. Price index. Okay. Do we need to look at a CPI question? All right, let me find one. I'll have to pull up an old quiz. Let's see. They might ask a couple multiple choice. Yeah, they could. I would not be surprised. There are several of us that think that it could be a CPI question. That's not going to help. There we go. That's fine. All right, so we're going to work on the one on the screen. Finding CPI.
Or just tell them that this is Justin. Press Dave. Press 9.
You don't read that? All right. Find CPI for the basket. So do A. A, B. A and B. Do A and B. You may need to use your calculator because I didn't make that math friendly. That's off of an old quiz. Yeah, it's a quiz we took over this year. Captain America quiz from over this year. I don't know, but I have it on the screen on the computer too. Yeah. It's 3 random items.
Is Starford like per pound that price?
Yeah, it's per pound. Those are per item and per pound. Yes, ma'am. Would it hurt or harm? Hurt or harm? Benefit or no? Current over base. Do what? Not yet. We're gonna go over them together. Current divided by base. Yeah, give it 2 decimals. Do A and B. Just A and B. Do an A and B. Yeah, don't do. Just do an A and B. Good. 3A. Do it. Yes. 3A. All new minus old divided by old. CPI. So your new CPI minus your old CPI divided by the old CPI times 100. If it goes past 2 p.m. Yep. Divided by. I'm sorry. Yeah, CPI. Good. Yeah, A and B. The interest rate would not change. Yeah, hurt would be a good way of putting that. All right, let's talk our way through this. All right. So step one is to find the value of the market baskets for each year. All right, so your value of your market basket for 2033 should have been 155, and your value for 2034 was 185. All right, to find CPI for those 2 years for 2033. All right, it'd be 155 over 155 because 2033 is your base year times 100, so that's 1 times 100. So your CPI for 2033 is 100. Okay, for 2034, you do that year's market basket, 185 divided by 155, the base year, times 100, and that should have given you a CPI of 119.35-ish. All right, to find inflation for 2034, you take the 119 point minus the 100, right, divided by the 100 times 100, so your inflation rate should have been 19.35%. All right, which is bad. Yeah, yesterday we had 50%. All right. If there's inflation, unexpected inflation, if there's unexpected inflation, and you have a fixed rate savings account, are you helped or hurt? Hurt. Why? All right. The money that I put in, right, when I take it out, is not worth as much. Okay, and it's a fixed rate, so they're not adjusting it. All right. If I have a fixed rate loan, am I helped or hurt by inflation? Help, because the money I borrowed is cheap compared to what it is now. Right? And my nominal interest rate is lower than it should be. All right. We're not talking about that yet. Needles to explain. Helps, hurts. You're good. Yes. 119.35. Your CPI was 119.35. It's 185 market basket 234 divided by yes. AQI 119.35. Your inflation rate was 19%. Because the base year is what your old is, so it's 119 minus 100 divided by 100 times. We'll go over the here next. All right, a few last minute tips, and then we'll be done. All right, y'all can start making lunch plans and stay in here. What is stagflation? Okay, stagflation. All right, stagflation is caused by a shift of, guys, listen. Stagflation caused by aggregate supply shifting to the left. High inflation, high unemployment. Right? You have two problems at the same time. All right, we can fix one problem at a time. It's really hard for any policy to fix both at the same time. All right? So it's last time we had stagflation, the Federal Reserve chose to fix inflation first, causing a worse recession, and then they'd fix unemployment. That was in the 80s. That was Ronald Reagan. Is it the smart way? That's the last time we had it. So Paul Volcker chose to do that. Paul Volcker, the Federal Reserve, said, "This is what we're doing." And we went, "Okay," because that was what we did. All right. On your multiple choice questions, you have 70 minutes. Take your time. All right, it's longer than you think. Some of them you'll answer right away. It'll be real fast. Okay. Some of them you'll have to do a little bit of math. If there's a comparative absolute advantage question, it's going to take you a little longer to figure out who has comparative advantage and figure out which statement is correct. Right? But take your time. Draw your graphs. Look at them as mini FRQs. If it's referencing a graph, draw a graph, move the line as it's saying, read it. Right? Don't overthink them. Keep it simple. Trust your gut. Right? When you start overthinking is when y'all start making mistakes. Right? On the FRQs, take your time. You have 55 minutes to answer 3 of them. Don't need all of it. Take your time. Right? So, draw your graphs, label them clearly, draw them big. Right? Label your answers clearly. Right? You got it. Right? So, we have a little over an hour to be in the room. Right, we're in the Lyceum. All right, so take care of lunch. Right, get something to eat. Stay here. You can have food delivered. I'm gonna go make sure that the office knows that we're having food delivered. Right, but stay here, eat in here. If you want to talk about certain things, we can, but do not leave campus.